Metro Boomin, one of the greatest producers of our generation. He's produced countless Billboard chart topping, multi-platinum hit songs and albums. In today's video, I'm going to be breaking down the formula that he uses to make his signature style of beats. So he's used this on a ton of different beats. A few examples that I could think of are Ric Flair Drip, Wicked, Bad and Bougie, No Heart, and Tunnel Vision. And this is probably most prevalent in his beats from about 2016 to 2020, so in that little time frame right there. So the two things that he does masterfully on these beats is his first melody and his 808. Typically these beats are pretty much centered around one really catchy melody that's really prevalent in the song with a really strong presence of an 808, and he's pretty much able to fill out the rest of the beat from there. I'm just gonna go ahead and jump into FL here. First thing I'm gonna do is go to the tempo. I'm gonna put it to something like 140. A lot of those songs that I mentioned are kind of in this range, about like 130 to 150-ish. And the first plugin I'm gonna open is Omnisphere to lay down this first melody. There's a ton of different songs that Metro's used Omnisphere for. I covered it in my sound selection video. There's one melody preset I used recently, which I do want to use to start off this beat. That's this one right here, the Love Triangle Bells. So it's kind of like an ambient bell type of sound. So the first thing I'm gonna do is open up the piano roll and just lay down a pretty basic pattern. Honestly, the keys don't matter that much. Typically the keys sit between like B minor and E minor, somewhere in there. So actually I'm gonna start this beat in E minor and we'll just kind of work our way around it. Alright, so pretty much this is just a simple, basic, repetitive melody. If we're just looking at these top notes here, we'll just ignore these ones on the bottom. I'm just using like 3-4 notes in the E minor scale, so it's just the first note in the scale E, the fifth note B, then we go back to E, then the second note F sharp. Basically repeat this a couple times. Then we get to the little switch up at the end where instead of F sharp we have G, and then I copied this over. We made the last two counter notes here as a switch up. So instead of having them at F sharp and G, I put them at C sharp, C and B. C being the sixth note in the scale, B being the fifth note. I forgot if I mentioned it, but G is the third note in the scale for E minor. All you really need is those notes right there. And notice the notes that pair well together to make that dark sound are a half step apart, or they're right next to each other on the MIDI. And then once I had that, I just went ahead, copied it over, and I just changed the last note from this B to A. So now that we got this, I'm gonna go ahead and just route it to a mixer track. First thing I'm gonna do is EQ it. Get some of these little harsh frequencies out. Alright, next thing, honestly I'm not going to do too much in terms of sound to this. I think the only other thing I'm going to add is some effect tricks to it, and it's just going to be really light, just some reverb, and then I'll put on some stretch and just turn the mix down on both of those. I'll put reverse instead. Alright, and then the last thing I'm going to add to this is just some halftime, and we're going to alternate this on and off throughout the beat. So for now I'm just going to leave that off and I'll put the rest of the melodies on, but we might use that later in the beat just as a bit of a switch up. So the next thing I want to add is, again, we're going to go to Omnisphere and just grab a basic piano sound, something like this. And I'm just gonna go ahead and throw in some low notes. All I'm gonna do is just go down to this third octave here. And we got E3, and I'm going to copy it down to E2 also and lower the velocity a little bit. And I'm gonna grab both of these and lower the velocity down. And this is just gonna create some more depth to our melody already. I'll go ahead and duplicate it too. I'm I'm just gonna throw that to the mixer track. So then I'm gonna open up another instance of Omnisphere, and I'm just gonna grab another bell sound or like a flute sound to counter what we already have. I think I'll use this one. So I'm gonna take this, route it to the mixer track, and I'm just gonna put a bandpass on it. Now that we got that down, I think we can go ahead and start adding the drums. First thing I want to add 808. I'll just get a spins one for now. Grab a little basic hi-hat, and we'll get a snare and an accent snare too. Grab an open hat. Actually, I think I'll grab this little perk thing instead. Grab a rat kick, and I want to add that little chant that's kind of common in some of those old Metro beats. I think it's somewhere here. Right there. All right, cool. So first thing I'm gonna do, add this little chop snare or something kind of similar to it. Just basic, third beat of every measure. And then next, just two-step hi-hats for now. And then now we'll go ahead and start adding the 808. Like I said at the beginning, this and the first melody are like the most key things when it comes to nailing that Metro sound. And along with the 808, you also want the kick bounce to be correct too. I think he's also mentioned it in an interview before that he doesn't like to layer the kicks exactly with the same 808 notes. He likes to have them a little bit off or have them hit at slightly different times just so it's not exactly the same.
The kick is in specific spots. It's not in every point that the 808 hits, but it's only in certain spots. I have the kick spaced out from the 808 in different spots, you know, to create more like a groove type of thing.
So now we can kind of fill out some of the drum sounds with the rest of it. Throw down an open hat just kind of after the odd measure claps or odd measure snares. Something like this. Go ahead and throw some counter snares down. Just put it on these little off beats here. Lastly, we get this little chant down. Actually, instead of these right here, I think I'll just convert these to chants. So something like this. Now we got all the different drum sounds in. When we go through and just add a couple basic hi-hat rolls, I'm gonna start on the 1/6 beat, snap to the grid. I think I'm gonna go ahead and change the main melody a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and throw some portal on it. And just put something that's just adds a little bit of variation to the melody. Alright, so what I think I'm going to do is change the key, and I want to change up the melody a little bit. So I'm going to go to the master, throw on some sound shifter, and find a better key. Alright, I think -2 sounds better, so I'll move this to D minor here. Transpose selected, -2. And I think I'm gonna pitch this up an octave, the first melody. And that way when you halftime it. Alright, I think that sounds pretty good. So one last sound that I'm gonna add before we start arranging everything is a sub bass. I'm just gonna put a basic Reese bass. It's like my little modified Reese bass that I like to use. So I think that's pretty good. I'm gonna just throw that in with the drum sounds here. And I'm gonna go up to the pattern here, right click on it, hit split by channel. Pretty much got our whole beat just right here in building blocks. And so I'm just gonna copy this over a bunch of times, and we're just gonna carve out our arrangement. Before I do that, I'm just gonna go ahead and mix the drums real quick. I'm gonna go ahead and automate that halftime on and off. So go to where the halftime is, right click on the little circle, hit create automation clip, copy that over, and then go to the top of your halftime clip, hit make unique, and one of them's gonna be all the way down, and then one of them's gonna be all the way up. So the all the way down is gonna be the one that's has no halftime on it, and of course the other one's gonna be with the halftime on. So for the intro, I'm gonna have it halftime, and then I'll just have it kick in right here. And this little counter melody, usually what Metro likes to do is he'll have it kind of come in the middle of the beat somewhere. so I didn't really talk too much, but it's basically you start off with a little intro, kind of do the same thing, and then you go back into a little bridge right here. Something like that. So that's pretty much the whole beat. So that's pretty much it for this one. Appreciate y'all for watching. Hope you found it pretty helpful. Yeah, I mean, I don't really got much else to say, so that's gonna be it. See y'all in the next one.
Roll up, Tez.